Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg and I'm going to get into another romantasy book by Sarah J. Maas. In this video, I've read it's actually the final, it's actually kind of convoluted. It's the earliest works that were published. It's the very first works that Sarah J. Maas published, but they weren't collected together in one book until after all seven of the Throne of Glass books were published. And then they were all brought together and released as The Assassin's Blade. And there are five novellas in this book. Four of them were published before Throne of Glass was published. One was published after Throne of Glass. Was it after Crown of Midnight? Yes. One was published after the first two books, the first two novels in the series were published. So even though it's the last book, it's also the first book. But according to most of the fans and according to Sarah J. Maas herself, I did look this up, and this is what she recommends in reading order, is that you read Throne of Glass first, you read Crown of Midnight second, and then before you go on to book 3, which is Heir of Fire, you should go back and read the prequels. The reason is that after you've gotten through Crown of Midnight, you've seen enough conversation in the books about Celaena's early life when, before she was sent to the mines of, what was it? Endeavor or Aaron, I forget the name of it's a mine in the north that she was sent to, and that's where Throne of Glass starts, as she's in that mine slaving away, expected to die. These five novellas, all take place before that, and they are arranged in this book not in order of the original publication, but in the order of Celaena's life. So you start with The Assassin and the Pirate Lord, which was originally published in January 13th of 2012, her first published work. And that one talks about how Celaena goes up against a pirate lord who is arranging to traffic slaves. And she defeats him and sets the slaves free. Okay. So then you move on to the second in Celaena's chronology, which is actually the fifth novella that was published in March 4th of 2014. It's called The Assassin and the Healer. And The Assassin and the Healer is basically about that. The assassin, of course, is Celaena, and she's on her way to a desert land, but she stops in this one city for a while. She meets a barmaid who has hopes of becoming a healer, and she helps her out. The third in Celaena's chronological order was the second published, The Assassin in the Desert, where Celaena finally gets to a desert area where there is this group of assassins that she was sent by her boss to learn from. And so she does. The lead assassin here, they're called the silent assassins because they don't talk much. And he does take her on and he trains her. And along the way, some things happen here, which Celaena gets caught up in, and she has to save the day. From there, you get The Assassin in the Underworld, which was published May 5th, 2012. Fourth novella, third one published. And there she's back in her hometown. What was that called? Just opening it up. There's no way in hell I'm going to make it to the city, but I don't have a memory to remember the names. Rifthold. Rifthold is the seat of the kingdom of Adarlan. That's where she was trained to be an assassin. She was sent to the deserted land over near Zenuria? No, Xandria. Xandria. That's where the silent assassins were. Now she's back in Rifthold dealing with the king of the assassins. She was trained and she was sent to work for this guy, and she is his best assassin, but he is the king of assassins. Anyway, she get she is trying to buy her way out of his service. If she owes him a lot of money, it's one of those deals where he does that on purpose to keep people from never being able to leave him. They're always in debt to him. He promises her a job that's going to make her very, very wealthy. So with the money she already has, which will be enough to pay off her debts, this job will give her enough money that she can get her own place and live highly comfortably. So she's all about this. And so she takes the job on. And I won't spoil what happens there. The final novella, prequel, before, and this one again it's one of the first four that were published before Throne of Glass was published. It's called The Assassin in the Empire. And it tells a story of what happened to cause Celaena to be captured by the king and sent off to work in the mines. And that was published July 20th of 2012. And Throne of Glass then was published on August 2nd of 2012. So the Assassin's Blade is all chronologically before Throne of Glass, and four of the five novellas were published before Throne of Glass was published. But it's still, these are not quite as, I don't want to say epic, I don't think that's quite the right word, but they're not quite as involved, not quite as big of a story, not quite as emotional as stories, and not quite as much fantastical elements um, as Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. So they're like light versions of um, Throne of Glass, but they're exciting stories. They're just much smaller, more compact, less going on, less emotional involvement. Though there's some emotional scenes in this, I'm sure. It just doesn't get as big as Throne of Glass or Crown of Midnight. If you go into this expecting each of these novellas to be every bit as good and big and deep as Throne of Glass or Crown of Midnight, you're going to be a little disappointed, especially if you're looking for magic and other dimensions and weird creatures or demons. There's not much of that in this book. This is more just straight fighting. But they're good. They're told in Sarah Maas's usual style, very easy to read, not really heavy wordsmithing like you would get with Le Guin or Bradbury, but a very easy to read young adult style, but still compelling, page turning, engaging, and fun. These are a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun reading this, and I'm looking forward to moving on to the next book, Heir of Fire. So, have you read The Assassin's Blade or any of the other Throne of Glass, or have any other thoughts about Sarah J. Maas? Please leave them in the comments for everybody to read and enjoy. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Otherwise, come on back for Heir of Fire and all the other great stories that we talk about here in Telltale Books.